sound, and light. The lies that blind us are the ties that bind us. A third narrative speech by the philosopher. 1. Opening the frame. Let us take a breath before we begin, for this is a dangerous sentence. Not dangerous in the way a sword is dangerous, nor a fire, but in the way a mirror is dangerous when it shows us not our face, but our condition. This sentence is such a mirror. It does not reflect what is in front of us, but what we have become, what we have internalized, and what we are still chained to. The lies that blind us are the ties that bind us. This fragment names not one thing, but a relation. It gives us a mapping between illusion and entanglement, between misperception and captivity. But more than that, it suggests that the very act of being deceived is how the soul becomes tethered. Sound and light. The lies that blind us are the ties that bind us. A third narrative speech by the philosopher. 1. Opening the frame. Let us take a breath before we begin, for this is a dangerous sentence. Not dangerous in the way a sword is dangerous, nor a fire, but in the way a mirror is dangerous when it shows us not our face, but our condition. This sentence is such a mirror. It does not reflect what is in front of us, but what we have become, what we have internalized, and what we are still chained to. The lies that blind us are the ties that bind us. This fragment names not one thing but a relation. It gives us a mapping between illusion and entanglement, between misperception and captivity. But more than that, it suggests that the very act of being deceived is how the soul becomes tethered. It is not simply that we are misled and then, afterward, chained. No, rather, the lie itself is the chain. The blinding is the binding. And this is something different than mere error. This is a kind of spiritual mechanics. This is the law of a world in which misrecognition is destiny. We must now go carefully. 2. Lies that blind. Let us take the first phrase, the lies that blind us. We must not mistake this for poetic exaggeration. For the human being, seeing is never merely optical. Sight, true sight, is an act of meaning, not just of light. The eye takes in image, yes, but what is seen depends on framing, on context, on belief. We do not see the world, we see through the world. We see what our language, our culture, our history have prepared us to see. So when a lie blinds, it does not close the eyes. It distorts the lens. It inserts a pattern, a logic, a subtle code of interpretation that overwrites reality. The physical world remains, but its meaning becomes inaccessible. And this is not a metaphor. This is our daily condition. Consider the child who is told she is unworthy, that she is unlovable, that her pain is too much. She may grow, she may excel, she may adapt, but her world will always be shaped by that unseen premise. She will see relationships as threats, kindness as manipulation, herself as a burden, not because it is true, but because the lie has become her optic. She is not stupid, she is not deluded, she is faithful, she is loyal to the lens she was given. Or consider the citizen who has been told that his nation is exceptional, that its history is pure, that its violence is always justified. He does not see injustice, not because he is cruel, but because his perception has been engineered. He sees threat where there is weakness. He sees dignity where there is domination. He is blind, but he believes he sees clearly. The lie does not destroy the mind. It reprograms it. This is why the most dangerous lies are not the ones that challenge the truth. They are the ones that replace the need for it. They give us a false sun, a source of illumination that ensures we never go looking for the true one. But 3. Ties that bind. Now the second clause, the ties that bind us. There is a quiet cruelty here, for the word tie once meant something sacred, the bond of affection, the cord of kinship, the vow of love. But here, in this sentence, the tie is not a gift. It is a constraint. It is a force that limits movement, that holds the soul in place, not out of devotion, but out of deception. To be bound is to be unable to act freely, to be tethered to a story that is no longer ours, to find that every choice is already scripted, to realize that we are repeating patterns not because they are right, but because we have no other grammar available to us. This is what a binding does. It narrows the possible, and in this sentence the binding is not done to us, it is done through us. For if we are blinded by a lie, then we move, we choose, we love, we hurt, all within the lie's architecture, and so we perpetuate the very thing that holds us. We do not need chains. The lie will suffice. 4. Sound and light, the two mediums of meaning. Now we return to the headline, sound and light. These are not incidental. These are the two primary modalities of revelation. In the sacred stories of many cultures, creation begins with sound and is illuminated by light. A word is spoken, a light is called forth, meaning enters the void. And this is the theological echo that rings beneath our fragment. For what is a lie but a corruption of revelation? What is a binding but a fall from freedom? Let us look at each in turn. Sound is the carrier of narrative. The lie that binds is almost always told in language. Words are shaped to suggest coherence. Terms are deployed with precision. Terrorist, thug, welfare queen, freedom fighter, all these are sounds that sculpt perception. More than that, sound is ritual. Repetition is key. The binding lie is told again and again, until it becomes not just believable, but familiar, and familiarity masquerades as truth. The more we hear a thing, the more real it becomes. Sound carries ideology. Sound teaches us how to hear ourselves. And the most binding sound is often the one we repeat in our own heads. I'll never be enough. I deserved it. This is just how it is. These are not facts. These are incantations. Light, on the other hand, is the metaphor of clarity. We say, I see now, when we understand. But not all light is pure. There is such a thing as overexposure. There is such a thing as spotlight manipulation. Think of the blinding brightness of spectacle, of media, of attention economies. In a world saturated with images, it is not darkness that blinds us, but the glare. We cannot see reality not because it is hidden, but because it is obscured by too much light. The lie becomes a kind of flood lamp, shining only on what it wants us to see. Thus, sound constructs the lie, light enforces its reality. 5. The formation of the lie world, and now we arrive at the full structure, the lie world, that is, a totalizing perceptual environment made of false sound and weaponized light. This is not theoretical. We live in it. We live in an era where truth is not defined by correspondence to reality, but by viral coherence. That is to say, whatever spreads fastest, whatever fits the dominant story, whatever is loudest or brightest, that is accepted as real. This is how the lie world operates. It blinds by overload. It binds by narrative. It creates a sense of motion but restricts real movement. It simulates freedom while dictating the terms of behavior. And most chilling of all, it makes the old ways of seeking truth obsolete. For the seeker becomes confused. Where is the silence? Where is the darkness in which one can see again? Even retreat becomes difficult. Even dissent is co-opted. 6. The desire to be bound at this point. We must be honest. We are not merely victims. There is something in us that wants to be bound. There is a part of the human psyche that prefers the lie, that longs for the tie, because with the lie comes order, with the tie comes direction. To be bound is, at the very least, to know where one stands. And here is the paradox of freedom. It is terrifying. Freedom requires discernment. It requires not only the rejection of the lie, but the willingness to live without immediate replacement, to dwell in uncertainty, to tolerate ambiguity, to carry responsibility. For many, this is unbearable. And so we cling to the blinding light. We cover ourselves in familiar sound. We say the lie to ourselves, not because we are fools, but because we are afraid. This is not weakness. It is the tragic dignity of the human soul. We are truth seekers and comfort lovers at once. 7. The rarity of awakening. Every so often a rupture occurs, something cracks, the sound goes silent, the light dims. A person, by grace or suffering or sheer luck, sees the frame. They realize they have been moving within an artificial construction, that their love, their anger, their grief have been shaped by a lie. This moment is holy, but it is not triumphant. It is shattering. For what dies in that moment is not the lie, but the self that lived within it. To awaken is to be reborn, and like all births, it is bloody and loud and confusing. One gasps for breath, one claws at the walls, one screams, but slowly, slowly the eyes adjust. And what emerges is a new kind of vision, a new kind of hearing, a refusal to repeat the spell, a refusal to walk in someone else's map. This is the beginning of liberation, not yet the end, but the beginning. 8. The other tie. It is tempting, once freed from the lie, to believe that all ties are bad, that the only true life is untethered, that to be free is to be without bond. But this is another illusion. There is such a thing as a true tie, a binding that does not constrict, but connects, a tether that does not limit, but roots. This is the tie of love, of solidarity, of truth. It is delicate. It is never enforced. It cannot be demanded. It is not made of sound and light, but of silence and shadow. It grows in stillness. It lives in attentiveness. It breathes in integrity. The one who has been freed from the lie must not seek to live above all bonds. Rather, they must choose their ties carefully and tend to them. For we are not gods. We are human, and the soul longs to be joined. The question is, joined to what? To truth, to each other, to the world, to something larger than the self, but never larger than love. 9. Practices of the unbound. How then shall we live? We who have glimpsed the lie, we who no longer wish to be blinded, we who know what it is to be bound. There are practices, simple, ancient, difficult. 1. Silence, to withdraw from the noise, to create space for original thought, to hear what is underneath. 2. Slowness, the lie rushes, it demands reaction, truth waits, it unfolds, learn to delay judgment. 3. Discernment, not everything that glows is light, not every sound is song. Test what you receive. 4. Confession, admit the lies you have loved, speak them aloud, not to shame yourself, but to begin again. 5. Compassion, others are still bound, others are still blind, you will be tempted to scorn them. Don't, you were once them. You may be again. 6. Creation, speak new sounds, shine true light, become a source, not just a receptor. Tell better stories, live them. 7. Courage, there will be loss of belonging, of certainty, of ease, but there will also be birth. 10. Sound and light, once more we return, at the end, to the beginning. The lies that blind us are the ties that bind us, and we say, now, yes. But also, the truths that open our eyes can become the bridges that bind us to one another in freedom. Sound and light are not the enemy. It is their misuse that wounds. Let us learn to speak again. Let us learn to see again, not as those dazzled by the spectacle, but as those who dwell in the quiet glow of what is. Let us learn the difference between sound and noise, between light and glare. Let us walk carefully, for we walk not alone, and our words, our light, they carry, they bind. Let us make of them something worthy. Let us leave behind the lie and become real.